this is something I made up years ago. I tweak it every year. There's not some new magical potion that's going to make our lawns perfect like I snap my fingers. But it gets better every year. I try some new things in my house. I get a couple products. I play around all the time. My back lawn is kind of the test stripe. I put foods in stripes. I try this. I don't spray that. I don't feed this. What happens if I do it that way? So I kind of get to play around a little bit, little mad scientist in the backyard. But the front, it's always the same every year. It's the perfect lawn. So this is the steps I've come up with. I think with lawns, probably more than any other aspect of gardening, people run straight for lawn food. You know, it's starting to look bad. Let's go get some lawn food. It's not the end of the world, but I think if you wait and consider a couple other things first, then go to the lawn food, you're not going to waste your time. Because I know for me, I'd rather do the least amount of work, have it look the nicest it can, and do things in the proper order. So that's what this sheet's about. If I'm walking out right now and you're looking at your grass and thinking, where do I even start? This class is hopefully going to help you. The article will probably help you. But where do I start? Phase 1, then phase 2, then 3, then 4. And you might not have to do all of these, but if you follow this order, you're not going to waste your money and you're not going to have to go back and do something again, okay? So we'll kind of start with that. Now, I kind of half-jokingly said, if you read the article, you read me, I am a anti-chemical guy, you know, in my own yard. Doesn't mean you don't have to be. But especially with lawn, you know, I'm an old dad. I'll be the 64-year-old at high school graduation here when my younger kid is getting up there. But I don't want my kids out playing on chemical. If you want my honest opinion, I think that's why we have issues with cats, with dogs, with children, with all kinds of things, because we put these murder, death, kill products out, you know, and then just say, okay, sweet, it works great. Well, in the meantime, who put it on their feet, their paws, their mouth, the soccer ball, the rest of it, and then it comes into the house and on we go. So I'm going to say that and move on. So that's just my own opinion, just so we're on a clean slate for today. So we do have some chemicals here, less and less every year. Will be even less again next year, to be honest. But we have an organic or natural solution for pretty much everything. I mean, there's some things we're going to maybe have to do a little more work on, but we have some natural products, ideas, practices that we can put in. I think that you can do it that way if you so desire, okay? Now, I'm going to do this section by section real quick so we don't get you out of here in like 3 hours, but try to get you out of here in less than an hour. I'm here all day, so I got plenty of time after class. If you want some questions answered, I'll get through weeds. I'll say, you guys got any questions on that? We'll kind of do it that way if that works for you. That way you don't have to wait until the very end to ask everything. So, number one with me is always weeds. That's number one on the list here. We have a few different options on how to take care of it. Again, this is going to be up to your tolerance. I have neighbors that love dandelions, think they're fun, the yellow flowers, clover, on and on. That's up to you, not me. I don't want it in my lawn. Doesn't mean you don't have to have it in yours. You're not bad because you want to keep some of the weeds going. That's totally up to you. So I'll start with that. If you do want to take care of weeds, you know, this is the time of year when the temperature is warm, the soil's warm, the rain, the heavy dews is on its way. Guess what's going to happen? Dormant weed seeds are going to start going crazy everywhere. All those little creatures that waited until the fall rains are now going to explode here over the fall, the winter, early spring. So if I want to get a head start, especially on 2025, let's get it done now. Why let things start growing? Big old taproot, it's harder to take care of later. If I can get it treated and sprayed for now, I'm going to have a little better luck here going into winter, and I won't have to hopefully do as much in the spring. So there's a few, does anyone have moss right now? So that's number one. Okay, so you do have some moss. I was going to skip that one for fall. So real quick on moss then, because I don't have a lot, I'm going to knock on wood because I feel lucky now that I heard you guys. I don't have a lot of moss going in fall. This is a spring thing for me. This class could be September and March. Every year I do it 2 times a year because those are the 2 times we take care of moss and our weeds for the next one here. So if you're going to do moss, our choices are simple. Everyone's probably familiar with the granulated product. You got a spreader. I take something like an iron-based moss killer. There's no, you know, we don't call that chemical. It's not systemic. It's iron. You know, there's no other chemical in there. And long story short, grass can absorb a massive amount of iron a broadleaf plant cannot. So I'm going to go put that on my roadies? No. Am I going to go put it in my perennial bed? No. I put it on my lawn. I will kill the moss and turn it black fairly quickly, I can rake that moss out and be done with it. Okay, so if I'm going to treat for moss, it's a granulated product that I can spread like that, or I can use liquid form too. So this is what I choose to do in the spring. I won't have to do it this fall, but in spring I absolutely will be. So here's two choices right here. Now this is Moss Max, which is a potassium soap. This is totally natural, organic. This does not stain. Have anyone stained their concrete driveway orange with iron? I'll raise my hand because I got it years ago. So if I use that granulated product or liquid iron moss killer and I'm not careful, patio, deck, wood, siding, driveway, concrete, all of it will get stained. So you gotta be real careful sometimes where you throw the iron out. This is a potassium based one that works very well. It's a little more expensive and it's liquefied. I hook this on my hose. I walk around, I can spray it where I need it. I don't have to put it everywhere that way. This would kill your moss with no staining. This is something people could put on their decks, their siding, you know, the RV. I've had one guy kills algae, it kills lichens. I mean, you could clean with this safely and not have any chemicals. That's making sense. So that's one. Granted, there's one. That's two. This is what I've been playing around with here the last couple years. And now I've gone away from having to treat specifically for moss. I can do moss and weeds all in one. What did I just mention about moss? It cannot absorb a massive amount of iron. So this is a liquefied iron. Yes, if I spray this on my sidewalk, I'm going to stain it. There's no difference to it. But this is a natural herbicide that will not hurt grass, but will kill weeds. And because it's iron-based, it'll kill moss as well. So for me, I've always treated for moss, then I treated for weeds. And I'm like, you know what? I can save myself an entire step. Buy a bottle of this now, and I can spray my weeds as I find them all through the growing season. Do it in the fall. But when I get to spring and I treat for moss, I can get those last few weeds that maybe popped up over the winter and kill all the moss in my yard like that. I don't have to do it twice anymore, okay? So this is Moss Max. It's a liquid, or I'm sorry, this is Lawn Weed Brew. So this is a liquid. This used to be called Weed Beater FE. Now you got the little funky straw hat guy. Captain Jack is our kind of organic logo around here. So this just signifies that this doesn't have any chemical in it. Yes, it's iron. Be careful with the stain, but this is something I can put on anything and I'm not going to hurt it, okay? Again, I'm not going to walk out to my perennial beds and start spraying foliage. That's too much iron for a plant, but it is not too much iron for our turf grass, okay? Is that making sense? So moss products, this kind of gets me into what I started with weeds. I was thinking maybe most people didn't have quite as much moss left. So when we get into weed time, you know, this is option one, natural iron. This is what I use. I have 0 weeds in my lawn. I walked through last week. I found 6 in 3,000 square feet between 3 lawns. I found 6 total little dandelions. I have this in a trigger bottle. This lasts me for about 2 years each time because I do keep up on it. I walk out, I wet it down really good, walk away. I showed my 9-year-old helped me do this a couple weeks ago. Let him, he likes the trigger spray, so he sprayed it. So come back in an hour, buddy, and we'll look at it. And it is already shriveling. The warmer it is, the drier it is, which is now, you're gonna have a much quicker action and much better luck doing this. Don't wait till mid-October and say, oh, I'll go get my weeds now. Yes, it'll probably still work. It'll take longer. If it rains, you're gonna have to do it again. You're just adding on a little bit more work to yourself. So phase one to me would always be get out there. If you got the moss, we take care of that. We get weed sprayed immediately, so they've got a chance to get killed off. And now I've got my grass left and I can get to work on the more fun part, right? Okay. So Weed Beater or a Weed Beater FE or Lawn Weed Brew is going to be my natural one. I'm guessing somebody is going to ask me about probably the 3 most evil creatures in the grass. We have who's got Buttercup? We got a few. Who's got Horsetail? Let's put that last because that's the worst. A little bit of Horsetail. And Clover is probably the other one. Now, Clover is one I played around with this year because I'll be honest, that is one OCD guy has to come home from work, get his bucket and his knife, and crawl around the grass and pop it out and patch little holes. I've done that for way too long. I won't tell you how long. Because I couldn't get it to die with something natural. Now, I tried this year with Weed Beater FE and thought, you know what? It has to work if I get enough on there. So I literally get my trigger out and I spray and I spray and I spray and I spray some more until I know that I've got enough iron has gotten into the soil. Now the root system will be extracting that out of the soil as water. And I got clover death for the first time from iron. I was pretty psyched this summer. I got no clover left. I had 2 patches. I kept digging it out, digging it out, digging it out, kept coming back. So I tried it and it works, but it's not gonna be a, oh, let me just give you a quick spray like a dandelion does. It's really soaking down that clover area. The problem with clover, it's got that waxy, hairy leaf, and we can't get much to soak into it. It's always been a chemical application to kill clover. If you put this down and enough of it and really get that wet, that area, you'll win against the clover eventually. I think I got mine twice and I have not seen it back. Again, I'm gonna knock on wood, real wood back here, for about 6 weeks now. So I was pretty psyched with the clover action this year. Now, if let's say you like the idea of maybe going green, but you're like, I got too much stuff to deal with here for a few weeks. I got horsetail, I got all of it. I'll tell you, the iron is not going to do horsetail, and it is not going to do buttercup, because I've tried that at my neighbor's. I'm fortunate enough to not have either of those things. I take it to my neighbor. She's like, go ahead, give it a try. And I got nothing from either. It shrivels the top. 3 days later, it's back twice as big. So it is not going to do those 2 things, I'll tell you right now. So maybe I have to press the reset button and perhaps go to a chemical one time here to get everything out, and then I can swap to my natural, if that kind of makes sense. Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
You use that moss out on a roof?
Yeah, absolutely. Now this again, stain. This is what you want to put on your roof.
What's
Potassium, Moss Max liquid. That's got that'd be like buying the roof moss killer at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's not. It doesn't have the staining heavy elements in it. Okay. So herbicide, I've got a few different choices, but let me just say this. So again, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I despise weed and feeds. If you read my article, I think it's the worst thing on earth. So when we get a weed and feed, we have chemical herbicide and crappy synthetic food. We put it on our grass, we put it everywhere. It goes over the whole lawn, right? When I really had a weed here and a weed here and one here and one there and one over here, I'd rather, if you're gonna use a chemical herbicide, get a liquid that you can put in a little sprayer and go spot spray. Then I'm not taking that over the entire property. I'm focusing it only on where I needed to use it. So if you're gonna go, get rid of the horsetail, the buttercup, the clover, maybe some of the stuff that's been harder for you to get, then we get something like Weed Beater Ultra. You know, works very, very well in cooler climates like ours. I can use this very late into the fall. I can also use it very early in spring where I can't use maybe some other herbicides quite as well when it's not as warm. So this is chemical, there's nothing organic about it, but again, if I'm gonna go this route, I'm gonna try to tack into not getting the broadcast spreader and putting it everywhere. Get this in a bottle and walk around and just physically put it where you need it. You'll have 100% death for sure, and we can go back. Okay, sweet, I got a clean slate. Now I can get on to the fun part and get the rest of this stuff done, okay? So Weed Beater Ultra takes care of most everything. The brush killer sounds funny. I wish they put the label longer on here, because this is what I tell you a lot of homeowners go to that bought a house. The lawn is just worthless. There's nothing but weeds and very little grass, blackberries, all the really hard stuff to get. The really small letters on this, it says, won't harm your lawn. It sounds funny, but if I buy brush killer, this is a very selective herbicide, so I will kill anything but grass. So if I'm gonna, again, look at an option for a chemical one time to go spot spray to get those things out of there, this is probably the top of the totem pole. It'll get everything, period. You know, along with the blackberries and some other stuff you don't want, morning glory, all that stuff. So this is brush killer. Weed Beater Ultra would still get most of that, and maybe not quite as chemical as brush killer, but I know, again, horsetail, this is going to be the top of the list for horsetail, okay? Sedge ender, we're going to kind of phase out, and it's not that it's bad or you shouldn't grab it today if you want to try it. This is a lot like these, but this also kills some annual grasses, which is the only thing we sell that will save my perennial lawn, but maybe kill the annual crabgrass or the annual rush or other things that are mixed in my lawn that these will not. Does that make sense? Again, I can't kill I can either kill everything with a non-selective herbicide, or I can kill lawn, grass, and weeds, or I can pick something safe that won't hurt grass, will kill everything but grass. So that's kind of where we're at with the sedge ender. That'll select a few grasses out, okay? But you'll see all of them right there. You know, I can buy concentrate on all that stuff. I can buy a trigger bottle. Most of that stuff we get, if you like me and you like to just hook this on your hose, use a little bit, put it back in the garage, bring it back out next time. Sometimes we call these ready to spray, or RTS. That sometimes is a pretty good value for a lot of homeowners as well, okay? The last one I wanted to show you with herbicide is that one. So again, if I put those side by side, they both got the Captain Jack. These two are a little bit confusing sometimes. Whenever you see in our store this brown shoulder, we call it, it's got that brown label on it. That designates this is non-chemical. This is a natural product that's not systemic or murder, death, kill style, okay? So Lawn Weed Brew, we'll see if you've been listening. Lawn Weed Brew does what? It's not gonna kill my grass, but it's gonna kill everything but my grass. So again, not putting it on my perennials, all that stuff. It's not gonna kill my lawn. It's safe to use in grass. If I buy his other product, Dead Weed Brew, this kills everything. This is like your natural Roundup. I spray this on blackberries and now it works well. I got my driveway a few weeks ago, sizzled it in an hour, done, nothing left. Even oxalis and clover, I was like, yes. So this is the only reason I bring this in now, because someone's gonna ask me, I'm OCD, I've given up on cutting out the different styles of grass and trying to get to one, if that makes sense. So I get rid of weeds and I get rid of some grasses, but I'm okay with some POA and some fescue and some ryegrass, kind of a nice blend. You'll see pictures of my lawn here in a minute. It looks great. This is if I was beyond my OCD-ness. I'll call it pre-children. I used to walk around and cut it all out before I had kids. Now I got no time. So this is what you would use if I'm like, I got a beautiful lawn, but I got one big patch in the middle that's bent grass, or it's folded over, or it's a seedy thing. I don't want it anymore. I'm sick of looking at it. Well, this is the one I can carefully go out and spray that circle in my lawn, kill it, scratch it out, get rid of it, overseed, put my grass seed back down, and now I'm back to the grass I wanted, okay? Is that kind of making sense? So that's the only reason. We're not going to ever put this on my whole lawn, or I'm going to plant a new lawn. This is going to kill the whole thing. But if I wanted a specific grass to be gone, I could spot spray an area here and there, kill that, and then get back to the mixture that I wanted to do, okay? So that's probably weed, moss overload. Do you got any questions? Let's answer questions on that first. Yeah.
What's the shelf life on those products?
So all the shelf life on products, they're not going to go bad. I don't let them freeze, and they'll tell you on the label, we don't want to get over 100 degrees. Most of them are. I don't want it to freeze. So I'm not putting this in my outdoor shed, but if it's in my garage, you're good literally forever. It's not going to break down. You know, I said most of this stuff, you know, I don't have to use a lot of this because I keep up on it, but a bottle of this is ready to spray. I don't need to mix it. This lasts me for 2-3 years, you know, before I gotta go, okay, I'll just go get another one. Or now I just have a bottle of concentrate, just mixing it back into here, and I got my ready to use right again too, to save myself a spray. Yes?
So your Lawn Weed Brew, if you spray that on the grass and there's rhodes next to it, so the roots are going in there, is
Won't hurt it. Yeah, won't hurt it at all.
it's
Yeah.
just the leaf,
Just the foliage. We want to keep it off bark and foliage. When you get to those borders, your yard's like mine, and I got plants right up to the lawn. I just gotta be real careful when I get to the edges.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So once you've sprayed using a chemical,
Yep.
like a large
Yep.
patch, do that one time.
Yep.
Super tough weeds. Do you just let it?
Let it die. Again, the sooner I do this here in this month, the warmer it is, the quicker it's going to happen.
Just leave it alone.
As soon as it's dried on there, I'm okay to go walk out there. I think most people are going to, you know, pets, dog, cat, kids, whatever. If I go the chemical route and I spray it on there, I'm not letting my son follow me around the yard when I'm spraying it. That's like, I start in the corner, work my way backwards, and I walk away. I want the sun to dry it on, let it soak in, and then I'm good to go.
And then eventually the grass will just...
Exactly. Yeah, you'll see that weed just slowly shrivel. The warmer it is, the quicker it happens. Absolutely. Yes?
How about application and watering?
Yeah. Oh, as far as so if I'm gonna spray herbicide, they'll tell you most every product's a little bit different. But let's say to be safe, if I have 4 hours for anything I've showed you up here to dry on, I'm good to go. Some of them are just an hour. You know, if I wake up in the morning like, oh sweet, it's sunny this morning, looking at rain tonight, it's not like I can't spray that day. I just need a few hours for it to dry on there really good, soak in, and I'm good to go. Then you can water, rain, do whatever you want.
4 hours.
4 hours would be the maximum. Most of this stuff's going to tell you rain fast in an hour, rain fast in 2. You know, it's going to be pretty quick. Yep. Yes.
I would assume the liquid moss killer tells you how much area that one
Yeah.
container will do.
Yeah, that honestly, this is something I've complained. I've been doing this over 30 years, and I've complained to this company for 29 and a half years since I found this years ago. Why don't you put this in a concentrate? And I get the same answer for 29 years, because you in Western Oregon and Western Washington are the only ones that care. The rest of the country doesn't. So it's like, I can't put it in a bottle just for you, but I would if I could.
So,
So this bottle will do about 500 square feet, a little bit more to get it on super tough.
all right, so
Yep.
if you're putting the granular down,
Yep.
you're guided by the tracks on your spreader.
Yep,
When you're doing a spray,
Yep.
I assume you're guided by the wetness that you see.
exactly, wetness.
A granular, the ground's got to be wet when you put it down.
Yeah.
This, it can be dry. when
This you
put
want
it
it
down.
dry, exactly. And I want this to be, you want both of them to sit right on the moss. I want, you know, rain's okay with granular, but I want that to sit on that moss and burn it. You know, this is going to turn it black. This is going to turn it like a straw tan color.
And
But
how
very-
rapidly?
Oh, you'll see it within a day. I mean, again, the warmer it is, the
Not
easier.
minutes, not hours.
Sometimes it'll be hours, I bet you, but a day at the most. Yeah. If I wait and do this in late October, November, you might wait a week before you're like, ah, it didn't work. Okay, now it's starting to turn.
Is there an advantage when you look out the next day and say, oh, I missed these spots? Can you redo all of it? Does it hurt?
It won't hurt anything, but redo the spots. Yeah, it won't hurt you to do it again. Absolutely not.
'Cause my moss is like thick carpet.
You got
that
moss on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I've had that before too. We'll talk a couple things here to help you with that longer term. I think we can
All right.
get rid of some of it too. Okay. So we got lawns, we got weeds. Now the reason we start with those two, because who in here has thatched before? You got a few. Who's aerated before? Got a few. Okay. And I've done both too. I don't have to aerate much. I do thatch every single season. Now it's not that I do it spring and fall. I usually pick one or the other. I'm typically a spring guy. I was too busy this spring and didn't get to it, and I can see the difference this summer. I'm doing mine in the fall this year, and maybe I can skip next spring. We'll see. But that's the thing. I think the best thing you can do is go to rejuvenate your grass coming out of summer or winter, either way, is thatch. Okay, get a thatch machine. The rake is going to kill your shoulder. I'm a big dude. I'm pretty strong. I'm getting old. I don't do the rake anymore. My shoulder is done. I mean, that's the worst shoulder pain rake workout you could ever have. You're going to drag a thatch rake around for about 5 hours. I will bow down. You can more luck to you. So I go get a machine or have a company. I do a machine myself. You could have a company come do it for you. It's not super expensive, but like the rental shops, you know, $60. It's like a heavy lawnmower size. I run that across my lawn. I've seen battery plug-in ones now on the internet that I've heard from customers that work extremely well. They could have in their garage and pull out and do their own thing too. So that's the number one thing you could do. If I thatch right now, whether I have brown grass coming out of winter, I have moss, I got all the above, we kill the weeds, we kill the moss, we thatch, and all the junk disappears. You'll see a picture here in a minute of mine, like before thatch, the thatching mess, after raking, 1 week later and a month later. I'm telling you, if you thatch, you do it right, you get the stuff raked out of there, you're gonna have brand new looking turf. You've gotten rid of disease, you've gotten rid of the thatch layer, all the old grass, the wheat grass, the weeds, the moss, all of it is gone. And you're left, you know, I hate to say whether it's he or she who does this, the other one's gonna probably walk out and say, what the heck have you done to my lawn? It's gone, it's brown, it's dead. No, it's not. It's just ready to start over again. So my wife did the same thing years ago. First time, like, why don't you kill the lawn? It's like, just wait a couple weeks. Then it was like, yeah, we got brand new turf. You know, if you do thatching right, you're going to get all that out of there.
How do
So-
you know the depth and how much
So-
material?
So thatching is something, if I have lawn, no matter what you mow it to in the summer, I'm gonna put it to the lowest setting here and scalp it. That's phase number one right now. If I'm gonna thatch this today or tomorrow, I'm gonna scalp my lawn down on the lowest possible setting of my lawnmower, okay? You don't even have to rake up the grass this time because the thatcher's gonna do that for you here in a minute. So I scalp it down, I get a thatcher, and I cross mow the entire thing. You are going to have mounds and piles of junk. If you haven't done this before, you're probably gonna freak out. Like, what am I gonna do with all this? It's light, it's fluffy, it's not a huge amount of pain to get it cleaned up, but we absolutely get all that stuff out of there. We start in the corner, we rake, we rake, we rake, we rake, we yard waste it, we yard waste it. Typically on mine, I could fill my giant yard waste container in City of Everett probably 3 weeks in a row with thatching debris. That's how much crap will come out of a lawn. And my lawn looks pretty much perfect right now, and I'll still have that much when I thatch, okay? Now, this is where I probably disagree a little bit with the county, the city, the rest of it. If I choose to have nice lawn, I water a little bit, I want healthy organic turf, they'll tell you to mulch mow. And I do the same thing all year. I mulch mow, I don't bag my clippings, I rake some of the worst of it up, but I a lot of times recycle. A lot of people just cut their clippings and leave it there. It will turn into food at some point, but the problem is it just keeps collecting on the soil surface. This turns into food, this does not. And if you opened up your grass and looked, you're probably gonna have a big, huge layer of brown at the base of the lawn. Is it the end of the world? No, but that's where I breed disease, that's where I get thatch issues, it chokes out my grass. If I can get all that out of there once a year, that's what thatching's about. It's not twice, it's not once a month, it's nothing like mowing. It's just pick spring, pick fall, get it done, start over again, and you're good to go for the entire next season, okay? So we're scalping down and we're getting all that debris out of there to bag it up, throw it in the yard waste, and off we go. We've got a clean slate, okay? So thatching is one. Go ahead.
If I have weeds, do I hatch first?
No, then that's what I'm saying. If I've got weeds or moss, if I spray my weeds, kill my moss, and now I thatch, I get everything in one fell swoop. If I thatch and then have to go back and spray my weeds, and then I clean those up. If I don't take care of my moss, I go back and take that out too, okay?
I called a place about a thatcher.
Yep.
And they said that they call theirs lawn rakes.
Lawn rakes, yeah. They can,
So it's, okay, so
lawn rake, thatching machine, different rental companies will have different ones, and we don't need, I'm not getting on the Zamboni, you know, and driving across my little city yard. I mean, the one I get, I can lift up, put in the back of my Toyota, take it home, I'm done in an hour, and I turn around, take it right back. It's like 60 bucks. And that's Pilchuck right in Marysville. Herc Rentals has them in Everett. A lot of times this time of year, a lot of the lawn people are doing this. So call, say, hey, you got a thatcher ready to go? You know, because sometimes they're gone for the weekend, especially Saturdays and Sundays. I'm lucky to be off Wednesday. That's the day they're always there. So make sure they have one for you, or say, okay, you're out. Can I reserve one for next Saturday or whatever day you're going to do it? Then you got your machine. Yeah, it's very quick. This isn't a, I'm going to spend the whole weekend thatching my yard. You know, I got about 3,000 square feet. I'm an hour, maybe hour and a half, and the machine is done. Rinse it off, throw it back in the truck, go deliver it, and I'm out. You know.
What outfits?
What's that?
What outfits are they?
Pilchuck Rentals down in Marysville, I think, still here. That's where I got mine last year. Herc in Everett always has them. Herc Rentals. But any of the home, you know, kind of machine shops, you know, there's a bunch of them around. Yeah, they'll get you one. Get you one. Or like I said, some people are like, I don't want to deal with it. Get some pricing, but I've heard a few people say they call the lawn service company, I don't need you to rake up the fluff, I don't want you to put your death on my grass, I don't want that synthetic fertilizer crap, I just want you to thatch, what will you charge me? And they'll get you on the route, I think it was $100 or something, most people I've asked around, which isn't a lot, to have them get their machine down there, do it for you real quick, pack it up, leave, and you're out of there. And then all you gotta do is do the easy stuff, the light work, okay? Yes?
So you're mowing down as low as you can,
Scalp first when I'm gonna thatch, yep.
and then you're thatching to the top of the soil or below it?
Just, no, not below it. If you go down into the soil, you're gonna tear up all your grass. So my first pass is never at the bottom setting. I'm gonna be like, okay, let's see how low this is. I'll click it down a notch on the wheels, just like a mower. I can jack the wheels down. I'll do a pass, stand back. All right, no, that's not quite enough. Let's go one more notch. Then we get it dialed in, boom, we're good to go. If I go to the bottom and just start cranking, you might end up ripping out the surface roots of the grass, and you may have a lot more overseeding to do, which isn't the end of the world, but you don't need to reseed the whole thing that way.
So I
Okay.
did it one year where it was real wet and just.
Tore it up, yeah. Do it before that's why, again, September, dry days in March. We try to get this done while it's still a little bit warm, a little bit dry. We don't have to deal with mutts and ruds. If I went home in January, I could certainly do it then, but I'd end up with channels, you know, with the wheels turning and all the rest of it. I'd end up with more of a mess down the road, okay? So aerating is the other half of that, and I'll be honest, I've never had to aerate, but I can't speak for you. It's the same idea, machine. I've seen funky shoes with plugs on them when you mow your lawn. They help, but they're not the substitute for an aerator. If you get a machine or have somebody come do it for you, clean up the plugs. I've had a lot of people I drive around and see take the time to aerate, just leave the mess, walk away. Well, now I'm going to end up with the ankle breakers, you know, little bumps and grooves and all that stuff everywhere. If you're going to plug, get the whole point of aerating is taking cores out of the root system so that grass has got fresh soil to grow in, and off we go. You know, a brand new system for the coming season. If I'm going to take it, get it raked out of there and throw it away. Okay, don't leave it on the surface.
After you aerate, do you sand over?
Now sand, let's say this. So we're going to get to top dressing here in a minute, but let's say I did aerate. Yes, I'm not going to leave those holes and just walk away. The lawn's going to settle unevenly. I need to fill those plugs with something. Sand is the golf course. I'm a golfer. At least I try to golf. Sand is the golf course thing. I'm not going to be upset if you use sand, but let's talk about sand. It has zero nutrition whatsoever. I'm at the country club. Hell yeah, I want sand because I want perfect greens and I want my water going through. It's not going to hurt you, but I'd rather have you go get compost. You know, if I'm going to fill divots, fill holes, fill plug holes, all that stuff, get compost. I can rake that out. It settles in the holes nicely, and I'm building soil chemistry, microbes, health long term. Sand's going to help me with drainage. It's not going to give me any other benefit but that.
When you say get compost, are we talking about buying sterile bag compost?
You can do it that way. No, if I got a lot of lawn, if I aerated in my yard, I'm not going to go spend $400 or $500 on premium bag compost.
How do you get
I'm going to
weedless?
go get, well, that's what the problem's going to be. You're going to have to go to a couple soil places, look at the pile. Yes, that looks good. Dig it in, feel it. Say, no, I'm not going to order this blind. I want to see what's growing in your compost pile. So I want something fine. I want it clean. Can I ever tell any of you that you're never going to get a weed from Bailey's or whatever place you buy your compost? No, I could never say that because it happens to me as much as it does to you. But I go look at the pile. From what I've heard this year, Riverside's the place to go, down on the Lowell River Road, down there on the way between Everett and Snohomish. I've heard really good things about them. I have not heard such good things about Pacific Topsoils. Other years it's different, but that's just me, what I hear from customers. Oh, you got some compost, how'd it turn out? Oh, it was awesome. Other places, not so much. So I would go look at the pile would be my rule, okay? So if you're gonna aerate, fill the holes, rake it out. If we don't aerate, we thatch, we clean up the mess, we're good to go. Okay, I can walk away. Now I've got, you'll see, I'll punch up pictures here at the end. You'll see what it looks like. I've got a browny, green, thin lawn that you probably think is dead, and it's not. And off we go for the fun part here when we get it back into shape. Okay.
If
So-
your soil is quite clay-like and you
Yeah.
aerate it,
Yeah.
is it best to
Compost will help fix that clay a little bit.
with no sand?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'm not, and again, it's not that I never use sand. I'm not a big sand guy. I mean, there's just no nutrition in it, and all it does is maybe help water. Compost is going to do the same thing. If I keep putting compost into clay, I create fissures, I get better drainage, and that's not just the lawn, it's the garden too. Yeah. So let's say, maybe real quick, we'll pause here. So let's say, you know, why am I not maybe having to do some of this stuff when maybe you are? And I'll be brutally honest, because I had what some of you had 20 years ago when I bought my house in Everett, and I tried all the things I could, and I could not get the lawn to look decent. That's because I frankly had crappy soil. I don't need 2 feet. I probably need a foot. I need 6 or 8 inches of nice, well-drained topsoil to grow turf in. I don't need the rest of it. We don't need, you know, acres and acres of it, just the lawn. So that's what I did 20 years ago. It's like, I'm never gonna win. I rototilled it up. I spent days, the whole month of August, cleaning rocks out of the soil and raking and re-raking and rolling and compacting and built my base up with sand at that point because I wanted out the bottom for the water. But I had a beautiful mix that I could seed in. Now I've never had to do anything but moss, weeds, feed, all the rest long term. So I'm not telling you to go and rip out your whole lawn, but she mentioned clay. If I've got turf and wet blue clay underneath it, my problem is probably never going to change until I fix the soil, build it up, do something to change my situation. All right, so I'll just say that on the lawn. So aerate, thatch, we've got all that. Now we get to the fun part. So I've got a clean slate. What am I going to do to get this to look brand new again? I've got a little bit of my healthy grass left. It's cut low because I scalped it. I haven't, now I put the seed down, the food down, and all the rest of these goodies that I've got up here. So if we look at that top dress overseed, the most important thing is getting a good quality local seed. I don't like the packaged stuff with coated pellets, all the rest of it. If it works for you, great. But we only get in what we call Seattle Shade, or now no one would buy it except in Seattle, so now they call it Timberline Shade and Sun Mixture. So 2 strains of ryegrass, 2 strains of fescue. I can have sun, I can have shade, I can have part, I can have anything in the Western Washington region, and that's going to tend to match what I have or what I should have. So if I sprinkle that seed down, typically it's a pound or 2 for every 1,000 square feet that I have as overseed. That's what's going to rejuvenate. Now I grab my seed and I got a 5-gallon handle bucket. I dump my seed in there and I hand sprinkle. You can use a cranker if you want. If you're like me, I ended up with grass seed growing where I didn't want it to grow. But I hand sprinkle because, again, I walk to the back, I start there. You'd think it would take hours. It does not. It takes an hour or 2 at the most for a really good sized lawn, because I can look down as I'm going, a little bit less here. Whoa, this is really soil. A little less here, a little more here, and I can dial in how much seed I need. If I had no grass at all, pure dirt, and I was building a lawn, this would be about 5 or 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So you're going to be somewhere in that pound, 2, maybe 3 if it's really sparse. You know, and seed's cheap. You're looking at $6 a pound versus buying, you know, $6,000 worth of sod. You know, sod is going to cost you a fortune if you go get grouse rolled out. So seed's very, very cheap, easy to apply, okay? So we put the seed down, then we get organic lawn food only. That's the only thing we sell here. I put this on extra special for the fall because I really want people to try going organic lawn food. So this is the best one on the market. I've tried them all. We carry a Spoma here as well, which is a little bigger bag, and it's great food. I've used it too, but I think this is the top of the totem pole for quality. This is from E.B. Stone Organics. You can see the warm and fuzzy picture on there. You know, the little boy playing with his dog, all safe on his organic lawn, right? A little warm and fuzzy picture. So I use this down because there's no chance of burning. If I put seed down and I go buy Scott's, or I go buy a synthetic food or a mouse control food or any other stuff that I see, I'm gonna burn my seed. I have to do that, then go back and seed again because I'm gonna kill the seed. It's too much nitrogen. So not only does this build my soil, add microbes, humic acid is a huge part of this to aid the grass system, but I'm also keeping my seed intact. So I can put seed down, next bucket, lawn food comes out. You can either spread it with your spreader, if you're careful, because you just put seed down, or do that before you do your seed. And then again, hand sprinkle that out or spread it, whichever way you want to go. That can go right down with the seed is phase 2, okay? Those two will not burn each other. And now as that seed germinates here in the warm fall weather, we keep it moist, off we go, we've got brand new grass, okay? So you'll see that fertilizer kind of morphs into lime, is stage 6. Now what is lime? I want to say this 5 times real quick. Lime does not kill moss. Everyone repeat after me. Lime does not kill moss. Because inevitably 50 people leave this class and then come back and say, well, Trevor told me the lime would kill my moss. No, I did not, okay? So this is how we're trying not to have moss in the first place. If I have moss existing, I gotta treat it like we talked about. If I'm trying not to deal with moss, I wanna get lime. So long story short, we all have acidic soil around here. Rhododendrons, conifers, our garden soil is acidic. I'd be shocked if you slammed a pH meter anywhere in your lawn and it came up with, wow, I got alkaline soil here. It just doesn't happen very often anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. So lime will counteract that acidity and get me towards neutral or a sweeter soil. What likes acid? Moss does. What loves sweet soil? Grass does. So you can see where I'm going. If I can get on the habit of doing moss, this isn't once, this is a spring, fall, at least once a year minimum, but you will see a huge difference in the amount of moss you got to deal with. I'm going to have happier, healthier grass and way less moss to deal with season after season after season. Again, for me, I went from coming out of the winter with probably all 3 of my lawns 80% infested with moss, literally. Every year, great. Now I can start the spray, then I can start the raking. And I always did it. When I started doing lime, now I'm down to the only places the moss should grow. The wet, shady border underneath the rhododendron. Sweet, I can treat that real quick, rake it up, I'm done. I don't have moss in any of the other sunny areas or the vast majority of my lawn. So if you see that difference, it's going to be the pH adjuster like lime. I bring this up now because if I put seed down, I do my lawn food, I'm going to put that lime down right on top of that as well and have all 3 of them on top of that brand new grass, okay?
I spot pH, check my lawn for pH the other day. I'm 6.
Yep.
That's too acidic, isn't
well,
it?
it is, but again, that is our soil around here, so it's not the end of the world. It's not going to kill anything.
Am I
But
striving
if you
for
put
7?
the 7's neutral, if you got to 7, you would probably beat any of us. I mean, if you get out higher 6's, you'll be good to go.
Okay.
That's the reason we carry this particular lime and this one only. I think it's the best one on the market. It's called Lightning Lime. It's got a great name. It works fast, but it's the only bag I've ever seen with lime. I turn over the back, I look at it, and it says, if your pH is this, and I add this much to this much square foot, this is what it's going to be now. I mean, it's the only bag I've ever seen that does the math for you. Everything else is like, throw soil sweet down, throw this down, I don't know, what am I doing? How much is it? What do I do? That's going to dial you in a little bit better. It really will, okay?
So I got the topsoil I put down,
Uh-huh.
I seed,
Yep.
then I put
You got seed, organic lawn food,
organic
lime.
food, then lime.
Yep.
So
And
how deep is the seed now? I thought
You
you were
want-
supposed to barely cut
yeah,
the seed.
no, it's not. It's not anywhere except on the surface. Yeah, you've already done all your debris out of there. Everything's raked up. I'm back to like dirt. I've got seed on top. I've got lawn food on top. I got lime on top. They're all right there. You'll be able to look out and go, oh yeah, I can see everything across the grass.
But the seed is covered.
Nope, still right on top. It's not. You're not putting that much lawn food down where you're going to cover it. We could, but we're not going to bury it with that much
So I
lawn
should
food.
not have the seed more than like a quarter-inch cover or something?
Yeah, well, that's the last phase here, though. So we've got those 3 down. Now, to me, the #1 thing I see with people here, whether they do this spring or fall or they come, I did everything you said, the grass didn't grow. Okay. Did you cover the seed? No, I didn't cover it. Okay, well then sweet, we can do this over again. Because the problem is, in our climate especially, we got sun, we got rain, we got dew, we don't have dew. I don't know what the hell the weather's gonna do here in 2 weeks. Are we gonna have an Indian summer where it's 80 degrees here again like this last week? Or are we gonna start to get some northwest, partly cloudy, partly sunny, and a little rain off and on? You have to cover the seed. The birds are gonna take most of it from you and borrow the food. Or if we start to germinate in the sunshine, it's all going to die. One sunny day with the grass seed that's just germinated and is not covered, it's going to try to grow and then it's going to crash. Okay, well now I got to go back and seed it again. I don't have to do the food and the rest of it again, but now I got to go put more seed down and cover it. So I brought 3 things up here. So this is top coat. I think that speaks to the OCD lawn guy. I got my old school mower. I got my guy on there, seed cover, okay? That is pure black gold. If I crack that bag open, that is probably the nicest compost you will ever see in your life, okay? There's nothing wrong with regular compost right in the front here. I've used both. you know, when I do mine, I don't really care which one you get. The biggest difference, they're both the same product, but this is screened again and again and again. So if I'm gonna try to send my seed cover through some sort of compost spreader, some people have those old little rollers that spit compost out as seed cover, like peat moss used to be. This is probably what I'm gonna buy because it has 0 wood in it at all. If you use this, I hand sprinkle mine again because I, again, can control how much goes down where, and I know I've got good coverage. I use the compost most of the time. Yes, once in a while I'll get a little teeny piece of wood out of it, you know, flick it off the grass, or it just degrades in the soil and off we go, okay? But I have to cover my seed. We're not doing this, we're not doing that, we're doing like that. So if I'm done with all these things and I top dress, I should be able to stand back, look over the entire lawn and see no seed, no food, no lime, and I just want like an 1/8 of an inch to maybe 1/4 of an inch. I love the compost because when it's wet, it's what? It's deep, dark, black, brown. I could get home from work at 5 o'clock and go, I got my lawn, do I got to water, do I not have to water? How warm was it today? I could look out, and if I saw that super dark color and all that compost I just covered my seed with, I'm good to go. If I come home and I see a light brown tan color, okay, we had some sun today. I'm not gonna flood it. I'm not gonna rinse it. I don't need to water it for hours. It's not that. But I'm gonna stand on the edges very carefully and wet it down so that I have that dark color again. Does that make sense with everybody? I can't let that seed dry out, and that's why you've got to cover it. That's the #1 thing I think people don't do. They go through all the processes, get it looking perfect, then just, oh, it'll grow. And sometimes it does. You know, sometimes, hey, it may work for you, but if you want to do it right, do a little compost over the top.
2 questions.
Mhm.
I have a watering system in my front yard,
Yep.
but if I turn that on,
Yep.
it's just going to push seed and topsoil away and
Okay.
damage it.
Okay.
So what technique are you using to lightly wet so you
Well,
don't
I'm
disturb?
surprised your lawn sprinklers, they would wash it all. Is it that much power? They would wash it all away? Oh wow, he's got sprinkler steroids, right? So if we could, you can maybe turn the pressure down. I don't know if you've got a dial on you. Okay. So with me, I'm not gonna grab my hose and go drag it across all my lawn because I disturbed everything I just did.
Right.
I'm gonna carefully walk around the perimeter. I turn mine, I don't know what you got for a nozzle. I got something called cone.
Yeah, you
And it's kind of a light misty thing that shoots out 20 feet or so. So I literally just sit there
okay.
and just let it mist down like it's raining. I mean, that's what we want, is just a little light rain. And it's not for 10 minutes, 50, it's literally probably 5 minutes
Right.
for the whole thing. I mean, we
Second
just,
question.
yeah.
How you're telling me that you hand spread an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch of coverage
Yep.
for 3,000 square
Yep,
feet?
takes me about 2 hours.
So your technique is just a handful
2
of
gloves, I got 2 buckets.
Yeah,
I'll go to the corner again where I'm not gonna walk over myself, so I go to the farthest corner.
yeah,
I leave my extra one about halfway down, and I'll start in the corner,
yeah.
and I literally will just start sprinkling it out. And that way, a lot of times with that, I'll feel the wood, throw it into my garden.
So you're not broadcasting with
No.
handfuls.
No, I'm just sprinkling
You're just
it down like
sprinkling.
that, just walking as I go. It goes pretty quick.
Okay.
But again, a lot of people I know have those old spreaders with the slits in them. We can put compost in that, and if we're careful and light, we can start at the back and just lightly spread compost out that way as well, okay? Now, I mentioned peat moss. Is anyone using peat moss still? I won't hate you if you are. So the one thing I wouldn't do is peat moss. I mean, that's my dad, my grandfather. I know people still use it. It's not the end of the world because it's a great moisture preventative, but what have we said about moss? Acidity is the enemy of our lawn. So peat moss is nothing but acidity, okay? So I'm not gonna go, it's more expensive, frankly, than compost, I think, these days as well. And it destroys the peat bog, but that's a different story. So peat moss, to me, we haven't carried it in years here. I ran another nursery, we quit carrying it there 20 years ago. So compost is peat moss that's gonna help your soil long term. This is all pH balanced, totally neutral. There's no acidity in any of these products at all. If I, dabbed a meter in peat moss, probably be 5, 5.5. So now I'm counteracting everything I'm trying to do. That cancels my lime. Now I gotta do this again. I gotta do that again. So don't buy peat. Use compost for the same exact purpose. Just a light seed cover, keeps it wet, gets it to germinate, and then off we go. Okay. So we've got our covers on here.
Got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of pre-germinating seed? They show it in a bucket of water.
You know, that's funny because I was talking to a guy a couple weeks ago, and he had this plastic tray kind of plug system that he actually got his grass to show white roots, and then he threw it out and plugged it in. And I thought, sounds like a lot of work to me. I don't mind. You could certainly soak it for a little bit and pre-germinate it some, because you're still going to do the same thing. You're going to have to cover it. But honestly, if I'm going to do mine here, and I'm here this weekend, obviously doing class. I'm home next weekend. I'm doing mine next weekend, and I will expect by the next weekend me coming home, I'm going to look out and I'm going to see green peach fuzz. I mean, this goes pretty fast. Seed germinates, warm weather. I keep it moist. I got a week to peach fuzz. I probably got 2 weeks where I'm like, oh sweet, I got some turf coming in. 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, I won't even be able to tell that I did this. It looks like brand new turf going in winter and spring 2025, okay? So the last couple things here, disease and crane fly. Now, again, this is going to be up to you as far as a choice. If we start with disease, we talked about thatch. So if I de-thatch my turf, I've probably done myself the largest favor I could. That's where these things are going to fester as we get wet, we get rain. That's where everything starts, in the thatch layer. Now I get red thread, now I get dollar spot, now I get rust, now I get this. It all comes out of the thatch. So getting rid of the thatch is a great help to start with. Don't feel alone in our climate. I mean, I keep my lawn pretty darn tidy. I come home in the winter and yes, like everybody else, I can see a patch of red thread and a little patch over here. Maybe one there and one there. If I walk on it, now it's on my shoes. If I mow it, now it's on my lawnmower. If I have a lawn mowing service come do my yard, well sweet, she was down at Mrs. Jones' house before you, she's covered in red thread, guess what you got now? You know, compliments of your lawn company. So clean your lawnmower, clean your blade is a great way to kind of think about this. Turn it over a couple times a year, clean it out, spray it down, get it cleaned up. You'll do yourself a favor. And if you have a lawn service guy, ask him. Maybe he probably won't clean it for you every house he goes to, but say, please do your best not to bring your stuff from the other yards into mine, you know, kind of thing. We'll start with that, okay? If I do have those issues, number one, fertilizer works wonders. If I come out of winter next year and I have my touch of red thread here and there that I live with, I put my organic lawn food down just like I'm telling you guys to, it's gone. Grass nitrogen, grass flushes, grows up, oh sweet, I'm good to go. I don't even have to worry about treating it. If it's killed out, large brown patches, we had it this year, you didn't know what to do, it progressed, it's back this summer. If I thatch, I get rid of all that bad grass and I'm back to square one. If I don't thatch, maybe I gotta spray, maybe I do in the spring a little bit as well. So if I'm gonna treat for turf disease, went the wrong way. There's a couple things here. Now what the golf course will do, and this is again listed as natural, it's copper. The only place I would tell you not to use this is if you lived right on the water. Please don't use copper. One thing with this is the creek, the river, the stream, the lake, the sound, the rest of it, that doesn't do well with marine invertebrates. But if I live anywhere up in town, this is gonna hurt nothing. So I can put copper down as a great curative spray. That's what the golf courses do for the most part. You see that bluey color if you're a golfer, they always have the sign out, apply copper today, and you can see the blue on the grass. So we're not gonna drink it, we're not gonna eat it, we're gonna wash our hands, but we can use this absolutely as a fungicide option. I use this, it's called Revitalize, and this probably sounds like the worst thing in there, it still says it, yeah. Biofungicide, that sounds like something nuclear, right? So what's he gonna give me, biofungicide? This is basically, if I open this up, I'd probably smell like molasses cookies. It's like sugar with bacteria in a solution. So this is fungus-eating bacteria. Think of it that way. It sounds more fun than biofungicide. So if I have Revitalize, I'm applying a culture of bacillus that will live on my rose, my vegetable, my lawn. I use this everywhere as a great disease preventative. So if a spore blows in, the lawnmower guy comes in and gives me red thread, this is going to counteract that immediately. So I can use this as a totally natural organic option of bacillus. And this is what I've been playing around with. Who uses neem oil? Now, I use a lot of neem. We use it exclusively here now. Houseplants, outdoors, roses, everything. We don't do any chemicals here. We try to go natural, and I do this at my house as well. Turf was always the outlier to me. Like, I wonder if it would do this, and I wonder if it would help with that. Now, I think they're starting to list more and more on neem oil bottles every season as they discover other things it's really good for. Again, totally organic, but this will suppress disease. And our next topic of discussion is crane fly. If I have neem oil down on my grass in the fall, that little sucker that comes in and tries to leave his eggs everywhere to eat my grass, she will not be able to leave her eggs. And neem oil absolutely counteracts that. So that's what I'm doing again in the fall for crane fly as well. But those are our 3 disease choices for this part of the discussion. I can go copper, I could go with the neem and kind of do 2 birds with 1 stone again, or I can go Revitalize. And for me, again, I use Revitalize on everything. My rose, my vegetable garden, a lot of stuff in my yard. So I always have it. That's typically what I've gone for. But the last year or so, I'm specifically trying to try neem oil out on the turf, and it's worked very, very well for me, okay? So that'll do our disease. I didn't bring it in here, the only other option we have for disease is a systemic product called Infuse. That is chemical. You know, again, it's up to your choice what you want to use. The easy part of it is I can dump my thing in the trough, okay, in my spreader, and I can broadcast it out just like I do fertilizer, and that will nuke anything in my grass as far as disease goes. If it rains, you want it down to the thatch layer, right? We're not applying something I want to leave on top. That's something I would almost do the day it's going to rain, because I want it to rain, wash all that chemical off my grass, get it down to the thatch layer where it can kill all the disease, and I'm done with it, okay? Am I going to let my kid follow me around? No. My dog? No. My cat? No. That's nasty stuff. But if I rain it or water it in after it's worked, we're okay going back out onto those areas, okay? So that's the chemical choice. Those are your 3 a little bit safer choices. Yes?
On these neem oil and copper
Yeah.
stuff, do you use that with a sprayer?
Sprayer. Yeah, you could do a hose end sprayer. You could do a pump sprayer. You could do whatever you want. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing, whatever you got around. If you're like me, I have 2 sprayers in the can in the garage, and one says herbicide, one says garden use, because I don't like to ever mix the 2 of those together. So we always have the 2. Just make sure you're using the one that hasn't had, you know, herbicides in it before for the lawn. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Yeah, easy one to do. Now, the last one there was crane fly. And again, neem oils work very well for me, but if anyone know crane flies, kind of looks like a daddy long leg spider meets a mosquito on steroids. I've already seen them this fall. We're starting to get the dew, the wet every night, dusk, every morning. She's out there skimming across your grass, laying egg after egg after egg. Those eggs go on the surf. You develop the larva. You can see on the bag right there, it's always kind of gray or tan. You can't see it. You know, it's down in the soil a few inches, but all that little guy's doing is eating your grass roots. So you come to me here in a month and say, I did everything you said, I got a huge brown patch, it just will not come back, or it grew, now it's crashed. We're gonna take a shovel, we're gonna dig up a square very carefully, flip it on its side there, on a little box or something. I could dig through the root system, but I can guarantee you're gonna find those little grubs sitting in that soil eating your grass root. Okay, now we have to make the choice. Do we soak our lawn with neem oil, try to get that into the soil, kill the larvae that way, or do I get one of these granulated products right here? So we have 8, or we have insect and grub control. You know, both those are on the chemical side of things, but again, we're not interested in anything on the surface. I want that in my soil. So I don't have as much issue if that's your choice. I would choose 8 if it was my yard and I had to do this and I was going to use a little chemical, get a bag of 8, spread it over the entire lawn. You want rain, or turn your sprinkler system on, water the daylights out of it, you got it down in the soil, now we kill the grubs, we're done with the crane fly, okay? Yes?
So I had sod put in a few years ago.
Yep.
And
Came with some free crane fly?
No, actually, I had Crane Fly before. And
Okay.
They did a good job.
Okay.
But some of the sod now is dead.
Okay.
And there are little patches like this between all the lawns.
Yeah.
Do I have to actually dig that turf sod up to get
No.
the soil,
No.
or can I just scrape it and then put topsoil?
No, if you thatched, it'll do it for you, or if you physically went around. The issue you're going to see with sod is that fiberglass mesh
Yeah.
that they put in that soil. So you're going to have to be real careful how far you tie it in, or you're just going to start snagging up netting. So you're going to scalp it right to the soil, but not get down too far. You're going to tear up netting on
And
top.
then I put the topsoil
Exactly.
on that.
A little bit of compost, seed,
Yeah.
food, lime, and off you go. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, the last couple of things here. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Are there beneficial insects in the soil that those chemicals would harm?
This one, I'll be honest, I always am honest. This one, we're not going to probably carry this anymore, okay? This one I would have more issue with. I don't know if you guys probably don't pay attention to chemical names, but imidacloprid is a really common man-made chemical. It's a neonic, kills bees. We already have eliminated it from everything above ground. That's the last thing on the property here that we would use in the soil. Again, I'm not worried about bees for that reason, and I've asked for years, what about my earthworm? What about my pill bug? What about this? Beetle, on and on. I can never, oh yeah, no, don't worry. It's like, yeah, I do worry about it. So if I was choosing, this is the safer way of the two to go, because again, this is imidacloprid, but if you're gonna try to not do chemical at all, it's gonna be that neem oil. I mean, it really worked for me last fall and this spring, and it wasn't like I waited till I got crane fly. I picked a dry day in September and walked out and said, you know what? I'm gonna neem my entire lawn because now I got a shield up. You know, when she comes in that night and says, whoa, I don't want to be here, I'm out of here, go to the neighbors and lay them on her lawn. Sorry, neighbor. None of my neighbors are here, so they won't care.
How often do you have to reapply that?
Neem oil will last a couple weeks. I mean, it's not something we got to go every day. I think I tried for every 2 weeks, and it wasn't like 2 weeks all winter. It was like, for me, it was mid-September. I think I did it first week of October, walked away. The next spring, it was like mid-March, late March, and then early April, walked away. You know, just as a little help. You know, I don't mind sharing, but don't, yeah, anyway. I don't mind sharing a little bit, just don't take it all, right? So the last couple here, you know, again, starting over, we talked a little bit about soil. If you're like I was 20 years ago, I've done all this crap, I gotta start over again because this is ridiculous. We're gonna fix our soil, come talk to me, because we would need to build that base up, roll it, screen it, get everything dialed in so that you'd be like me and we don't have to ever do it again. I mean, we get the soil done right. You would know your soil, I won't. You show me a picture of your grass, I won't be able to tell your soil. But you can always, again, square shovel, take a nice clean plug out, bring it up here in a box. People do it all the time in the fall. What do you think? What's wrong with my grass? What have I got in here? And we get the tweezers out, pick through it, and finds all kinds of treasures in there. Sometimes even a penny or two, right? Sod versus seed, you know, again, it's up to you. I've never done sod. I don't like the fiberglass mesh, is one of my main issues. I just think down the road, if I'm going to do something different, how am I ever going to get that back out of here? I'd have to get a sod cutter, get below it, roll it up, throw it in the garbage because it's not biodegradable. But again, I understand, you know, I got dirt, I need lawn now. You know, I don't need it in a month or 2 or 3. Sometimes people go with sod. It's going to be a lot more money, especially for the sod. Doing seed and the rest of this is going to be a lot easier on the pocketbook as well. I always mention moles as I smile. You know, I don't know what to tell you, Mole. Who's got any mole issues? Who wants to know more? I've got a couple. You know, it always makes me laugh because if we had like 10 of me up here, all 10 of us would probably tell you something different. Oh, this is the best thing on earth. Why aren't you doing that? Yeah. The problem with the mole is, we're in Washington. I always laugh because we're technically not supposed to trap or kill a mole, which is amusing because no one's ever going to come to your house and give you a ticket because you killed a mole in your yard. You know, we have traps, we have repellents, we don't deal with the gassers and the poison worms and the exhaust pipes and all the rest of the stuff I've seen people try. My dad did some really fun stuff back in the day. I won't even tell you a couple things he did, but We just don't do that stuff anymore. We don't need to pour oil down the mole hole to kill the mole, right? I would always say this. You know, there's a reason the mole is in your yard, not because he likes you or thinks you're cool. There's something to eat, number one.
Yeah.
So if I get rid of
Gross.
crane fly grubs, this, that, okay, he's probably gonna go to the neighbors and you can say hello as he crosses the property line and hopefully doesn't come back. That's phase one to me, is I try to eliminate the food source. Maybe I think about the neem, the treat with the grub, whatever it is. Maybe that's phase one. Phase two to me would be, let's try to get him to go to Mrs. Smith's next door and not hang out anymore. So we get a product like Molmax, okay? So that's castor oil, not the stuff you're gonna get at the store. You can't use that. This is castor oil like droplets with a tiny little thin layer of clay around them so they don't dissolve really quickly. Moles don't tend to like that odor. The problem is, I think people buy that bag, they go home, they're angry, I'm gonna get you sucker, and they take that bag and they do their whole lawn. Well, if I'm a mole and you just covered your whole lawn in castor oil, where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go nowhere, because every direction I go is like, well, it's no better than where I'm at, so I'm just gonna hang out here, okay? So the trick is, you get that bag, you find the active mole holes, you treat that 1/3 area, okay? We wait a week, then we go out one more third area, then we wait another week, now we go to the edge of the land, okay? Hopefully that mole says, I'm here, I'm there, and now you can wave and smile at the neighbor as, like, oh, there he is, he's next door, popping up some hills, go have fun on the neighbor's property. Hopefully none of you guys are neighbors, so, yeah. So that's what I would try. Phase 3 is the war is on. You know, all right, I'm blue in the face. All Trevor's stuff was crap, it didn't work. I gotta win. You're not gonna get it here, but now you're gonna go get a trap device. Be careful your fingers, or you're gonna probably jump online these days and go, what are all these people doing to get rid of their moles? And we can find poison peanuts, and we can find gel worms and gassers and baiters and all kinds of stuff in between. So you would try to do that next. All that stuff, the key is not just putting it in some random place, but finding out where they're active, where it's gonna work, and get them out, okay? We're not gonna do, I remember my dad at the farm back in my childhood, 67 Mercury, got a nice perfectly fitted plastic hose on the exhaust pipe. That thing would just get shoved into the ground and he would just leave it running all day. So it could, you know, fill those tunnels full of toxic fumes. It's like, please don't do that anymore. Right? So we don't burn the anthills with gasoline and all the other stuff we used to do, right? So there's moles. So maybe the last thing I'll say, a couple things. You know, we went through a lot of stuff today. I can answer some questions after class for sure. Always read the label. I mean, I could sit here and pontificate on A, B, and C all day. If you buy something, look at the label. We don't have to be heroes. I'll speak as a guy. It's usually us is the problem. You put down 4 times as much doesn't mean it's going to probably work 4 times as well. So follow the directions. Use the right dilution rates. Keep an eye on the weather is a huge part of this. That's why we do this always in early September. So you can pick your time here. You probably got till first week, second week of October. You haven't gotten to the new seed by then. Let's wait and do this in March. We're too close to frost. Cold weather's coming. We're not going to have it fill in quite as nicely before winter, okay? So look at the weather. What's it going to do? I mean, ideally, you don't want to be out when it's raining to do all this, but you want to see the weatherman tell you, oh yeah, we got rain, little sun, little rain, little sun, which is coming now for the next couple weeks. That's lawn weather, because I don't have to come home and stress out about wetting it down and watering it extra and all the rest of this. Mother Nature's done it for me, you know, kind of thing. The latest I've ever done mine is the second week of October, and I thought, I don't think this is going to work out quite as well as I thought. And we got lucky, we had a nicer October that year. It was years ago, and it filled in beautifully before winter. But try to do this in September. You're going to be the safer the sooner you get it, the better, okay? Now, everything we talked about today for the class is on discount. You got today, you got through Friday to shop. So you can load up on supplies, you can come back this week, whatever you want to do. Everything's on 20% off. And I'm really on a mission. Nothing makes me smile more. A few of you will email me here in a couple weeks and tell me, dude, I was at your lawn class, I followed your instructions, my lawn looks incredible. Thank you for the advice. That makes me smile And this is the key to me, is organic lawn food. I'm trying to swap the world from weed and feed over to this. Okay, I can only put, I fed my lawn once the entire year this year, and I'll show you a picture of it here in a minute, what it looks like. This is long lasting, it's easy, it's great for the soil and the environment. So I put this on extra special. It's up to 55 bucks a bag, you got $40. So almost 30% off the lawn food just for this week. It won't be on special any other time except the lawn class. But if you want to grab some, get it today, get it this week, because that's a great price for quality organic lawn food. I'll tell you this, that's better than my employee discount, and I run the place. So guess what I'm buying this week? Lawn food for this fall and next year too. So I got my stash in the garage. Yeah.
You said that's long lasting.
Yeah.
Is it because of its slow release?
Yep. So, well, don't think of it as, I'll show you a couple pictures here while I'm talking, but don't think of it as slow release, because that's a synthetic thing. When I encapsulate fertilizer with another chemical shell that only lets so much nitrogen out for a while. Okay.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world for flowers and pots and the rest. I'm not talking about that. This is not water soluble like synthetic is. So when I apply organic, it just doesn't break down and flush through the soil. It never disappears. So that's always there for my grass roots to feed on until it's used up, and I put it down again, you know, kind of thing.
Okay.
So the most I've ever had to feed is March, always coming out of winter. Maybe one time in June is the time, sometimes I totally skip if it still looks great, and always the fall. The most important time of the year is the fall for sure, without question. So if I do this now, I probably am gonna clean up moss. You're like me, you're gonna have some moss in March, coming out of winter after the wet. We do that real quick. If we didn't thatch, maybe we do it in the spring and do it then, put the lawn food down. I might be good all the way till the next fall again, okay?
Wow.
What I found with lawn foods, you know, I like my lawn, I love mowing, I'm not even a power mower. I got the old school little reel clip mower, like the old putting green one. I keep mine pretty tight, so I can make my OCD line pattern however I want that week and all the rest. I tried other stuff, was like, damn, I had to mow twice this week. I had to do it 3 times, all these times in a row. With this, it just never changes all year. Once a week at the most, once a week, it's always the same color, it never crashes out, and I don't have to worry about any kind of burning, okay? Yeah.
Since you're talking about mowing, I'm reading somewhere about clipping. You want everything off.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So he asked about, should I mulch, should I bag? It's ultimately up to you, because again, if I don't bag mine, I rake a little bit off and on just to get some of the long stuff out. But if I don't bag my grass clippings, it's not the end of the world. That does wash to the soil, but that's what I'm saying with thatch. That builds up over time. The bottom of it degrades, turns into food, helps my lawn, great. But the top is not gonna go as quick as you think it does. So that's why the once a year thatching to me gets rid of all that extra stuff. I press the reset button, now I can start accumulating again. So I don't have a problem with recycled clips at all. Whether it's you doing it, the mower doing it, any of that.
Roughly how many square feet for the
It's about
organic lawn food?
2,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Smoma bag, I think it's the same price or a little bit more. It'd be 20 off. It does a little bit more square footage. Yeah, and it's good food too. I don't want to say it's bad at all. You know, if you're, just do me a favor, try organic once. You know, whether it's us or you go down and you find Whitney's or Webfoot. There's all kind of, every brand now has got a pretty good organic fertilizer, I think, on their line. Because I think the lawn, you know, the great conglomerate I always call Scats, I think has even figured out. A lot of people don't want to use the chemical, the synthetic stuff all the time. Get me a natural option, you know, that maybe lasts a little longer. So can you see that okay? Still with the sun, I tried this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my back lawn. This is last spring, or no, this is not last spring because I skipped it the spring before. So I saved some pictures. I'm gonna do mine again here next week. I'm gonna take some new ones. But that is after thatching, if you look at that mess. So my wife, or most people would walk out and go, what the hell have you done to my yard? You know, you might yell at your landscaper if you saw that, if you hadn't seen thatch before. That is and that didn't look that bad before I did it. It's not like I walked out and saw a brown lawn and I want to start over again. That was green, you know, for me coming out of winter. And it's like, okay, I know I got thatch in there, let's hit it. So I sprayed my weeds, I did my moss, Same thing I'm telling you to do now. Then we run the thatcher over it, and I had a mountain of light, fluffy crap that I could screen up, throw in the yard waste. Then I got to the side. That's after I raked it up. So I'm looking at a nice, tight, you know, not quite putting green, but pretty darn close. There's not a lot of grass there. You know, if I looked out there, if I wet it down with water, I'd see some green and some brown. Without water, it looks pretty brown. There's grass there, but there's nothing else. None of the bad stuff that I want, okay? Now I top dress those areas. What am I looking at with the compost there? Can you see how dark that is? So that I can see some green coming up through my compost. I'm not burying it. I've only got that little dusting on there to keep it wet. But that's literally right after I top dress. There's a week. Look how much more green has come through now, okay? Then we got the month, and there's that same thing going in later in the season, okay? So you can see how green and thick that comes back. It's literally like you planted new grass, because that's what you've done. You've gotten rid of all the weak, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the garbage out of there, and now we're back to fresh seed and everything that we can start over again too, okay? It's not a huge investment. You can see that last one there. I think this is what a lot of people see in the fall and a lot of people see in the spring. They look out and they can see the green. Why do I have brown here and there? Why is this off color and all the rest? That's a little bit of red thread right there, I'll tell you, that I caught in my yard coming out of one winter. And that's something, again, I feed the grass, it flushes right through it, I'm good to go. Or if I thatch, all that brown crap is out of there and I'm left with the good, healthy turf that's left. Now I've got the reset button and off we go, you know, for the next season, okay? The funny one I'll show you, maybe some of you have seen this one. So that's not me, that was the raccoon. So Mr. Raccoon discovered my yard. He's like, ooh, this guy's organic. He's got no chemicals. We love his soil. So I had a family come in a couple winters ago and they literally dug up about half my lawns. And the war was on. I got a couple of them with squirt guns, and I sit outside now once in a while to try to catch them. But again, I thought the same thing. We talked about the moles. I thought, God, are you kidding me? Why was he here? Oh, I know, because I got the biggest, fattest night crawlers that ever existed in my healthy organic dirt. That's why he's there. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to kill the worms. So I got a little scare device. I got a couple sonic things. I should knock on wood again here for the 5th time. They haven't been back since, but I got some stuff to try to catch them now. We'll see how it goes. So that's just a funny side story. No one's immune to the damage of the animals, right? Yeah, what you got?
You mentioned prior to thatching you cut down.
Yep, scalp.
Today I'm going to put down my moss killer.
Okay.
And I was planning on doing the same with the lawn.
Okay.
I was going to cut it real short before I put that down.
Okay.
Is that
Well,
good?
okay, so let's go back a little bit. Now, whether I moss kill or weeds will be the same discussion. I want the most amount of moss and weed foliage up and growing to have it work the best, okay? So if it was me, I would get your weed killer down, get your moss treated, wait for that to go black-brown, then we scalp, then we thatch. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because that way I got maximum square footage to get everything I can, especially with the weeds. I find in my yard, again, I don't get a lot. Neighbors blow in, I get one here, one there kind of thing. I always walk my whole lawn before I mow because I'm like, anything pop up the last couple weeks? Nope. Oh, there is a couple. There's my wheat iron spray. I did mine 2 weeks ago. I literally had 6 in my whole front yard. Let those sit for an hour. I watched them shrivel with a smile. Then boom, off we went. You know, because if I cut it, I've cut off a lot of my foliage. I'm not going to get the absorption to the root system that way. Yep. All right, we got lawn overload. Well, hopefully I don't make anybody feel bad. Use whatever you like in your yard. I just always try to kind of speak from experience. You know, what I've tried, you know, I'm an old dad, but being an old dad with a couple young boys, the dog and all the rest of it, I love my birds. I just don't like to use a lot of chemicals. You know, that's my own choice. It doesn't have to be all of yours. I know 20 years ago, I just about went to the bottle of murder, death, kill, to press reset on mine before I thought, you know, let's start over again, dig the whole thing up when we bought our house and built my soil right. So I haven't had to go there yet, okay? And I'm always playing with stuff. You know, I kept bringing up You know, we don't carry glyphosate. Everyone's probably seen on the news, Roundup, Cancer, Monsanto, they're banned from Europe, on and on. All that stuff's going to be gone as options for gardeners, I hope, at someday in the States as well. But you can get natural things to work that well if we time it right, if we mix it right, if we pay attention to what we're doing. There's very safe things that will kill your blackberry. We don't have to go to the chemical thing. So time it right, do it right. I think you'll still have great results. Okay? So we got any more questions? Now that I'm sitting down, I'm all comfy, I'm going to take a nap.
First mowing,
Yep.
when does that happen? And
You're
then
probably, you know, again, I don't want to sound vague. A lot of that's going to depend on what the weather does here in the next month. Absolutely in a month. I'll say that for sure. I've had some years where probably 2-3 weeks went by and I was pretty comfortable around the mower through there. Now I have, again, real mower. If I've got the power mower on steroids, we got a little bit more power on that. We got to make sure that grass is rooted some, or you're going to be spitting up all your new seed that you just put in. So I would look out. When I look out and I see green and I don't see a lot of brown left, I think you'd be good. And I'd say if you want to play it safe, I'd give it a month, but I think probably 3 weeks if you do it here pretty quick. Yeah.
And through the season, how deep?
What's that?
Through the season, how long?
Well, through the season, again, I don't, you know, you're going to be feeding it probably a little bit more after you fertilize, or mowing a little bit more after you fertilize, but I'm never more than once a week. I mean, as far as mowing, and it's probably,
I'm sorry, depth.
well, for you, again, if I look at the county, the city, they're going to tell you to keep it at 2 inches. You know, maybe 3 on some of them I've been reading lately, because again, it does shade a little bit, conserves a little bit of water. I'm not going to argue with any of that. My water bill was less than it was last year for the summer, to believe it or not, for me. And I got beautiful green grass, and I mow mine pretty tight. I like mine more like fairway. You know, if you're out golfing, not maybe quite fairway tight, but pretty close to that. I like a little tighter lawn myself. Does it mean that off and on mine gets longer? No, it does off and on if I don't get to it. But typically in the summer, I'd look at 2, maybe 3 inches of turf would protect you from the water a little bit more, from water loss. I think a little less than that, maybe a little bit more irrigation, but not an exorbitant amount. I mean, it really isn't. Yeah, I've talked to 4 or 5 people, friends of mine that do this now like I do every year, and all of them said the same thing. Dude, I didn't really have to water a crazy amount this summer to keep it green, and my water bill was less than it was the year before, which is the best of both worlds. Yeah.
I have a cottonwood
Yep.
leaf issue.
Yep.
Can I just let it lie where they lie while I'm doing this process?
Blow it off if you can. Yeah, you
Without
really need.
blowing my 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch?
Well, if you're like me, and it's not cottonwood for me, it's the neighbor's maple. I got rhodey leaves that drop, you know, like anybody. I got shrubs and trees all over the place. Before I do any of this, I got a battery blower, and I just blow all the debris off, mow it tight, and I get it down. Now, doesn't mean a leaf's going to come down at some point. That's not the end of the world.
Right.
If it gets covered, again, I'm going to try to be very careful how much. I'm not going to full on blow, but I'm going to try to get some of it off the top.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my dead area where the grass is, I've got clods that are about that big.
Which say
Some kind of clod
Okay.
grasses.
Okay.
Should I dig those out before getting thatched?
Are they noticeably taller?
They're taller than the grass.
Hmm.
They're just real sturdy. They're just
Okay.
real
It's probably a rush or something different, like a different grass you don't want in your lawn.
definitely.
So I would say yes. It's either, I don't know if you gotta dig the clump out. If you're gonna overseed, you might just get the natural. Where did I put it? The natural one, the dead weed brew. And if I spray that one clump of grass with that, you'll kill the grass without hurting your soil. Yeah, then when you thatch, it'll even itself out. You put your seed down and off you go. Or you could dig it out. Either way. Yeah. Yeah.
So how long before can you reseed after you use a pre-emergent?
Pre-emergent. So
Yeah.
when'd you put pre-emergent down?
Well, so you're treating for future seeds.
Okay.
So how long before you can seed?
Well, it depends on the product, but if we use is it Halts you use? What'd you use?
One of your products?
Well, nothing we carry is pre-emergent.
Okay.
Yeah, so none of this stuff's gonna hurt anything. I
So-
can
okay, that
put
was my
this down.
question,
Yeah,
yeah.
use it right after. No pre-emergence in here at all.
Okay.
There are pre-emergents out there for lawn use, but that's a great question to be careful. If I put a pre-emergent, usually it's 3 months.
Yeah.
So which is another reason we don't typically carry them. It's like, well, I'm going to reseed and all this other stuff. I can't do anything with a pre-emergent until after my grass grows. Then if I wanted to, I could throw that down, that dissolves, makes a film, and keeps seeds from growing at that point.
Yeah.
But it will keep your seed from growing for sure.
So anything like ortho or something like that? you wouldn't
Yes,
want-
Holtz. The only we have, I think we might have a couple bags. We carry again, it's chemical. We carry something called Weed Beater Complete. A little bit here and there for some people that still like to use it. That's something, if I put it down, I can't see. Yeah, I'd be stuck with whatever I got for 3 months. Then I can put my seed down after
About
that.
3 months.
Yeah, it's usually about 3 months on that stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming. Hopefully you guys will do a little shopping. Again, take advantage of the discount, especially on the lawn food. That's a great price to get going here. I'm like I said, I'm stashing mine for 2025 too.